Love and Watches is a family-friendly podcast for male and female watch lovers alike. Perpetual Girl and Ranch Racer are a watch-crazy wife and husband team who've been wearing and collecting watches for more than 45 years. They enjoy bringing you the latest in collecting, interviews, news, and all things interesting in the world of watches. Enjoy the show.
Hey, watch fan. You are listening to the Love and Watches podcast, the podcast for all watch lovers. I am your host, Ranch Racer.
And I am your co-host, Perpetual Girl.
Welcome to the show. And I'm going to kick this off by wishing my lovely wife, PG, a happy birthday today.
Thank you.
Today's her birthday. We're recording on October 22nd. So has it been a good birthday?
It's been an awesome birthday.
Good. I'm still making up for the failure on Valentine's Day this year. So
I've actually forgotten about it, but now that you still feel bad, I think I'm going to keep
You're gonna
working
keep milking it. Yeah. Might as well.
Yeah.
Right? You might as well.
Makes pandemic fun.
It does. Yes. It gives us something to focus on, right?
Well, today we're actually focusing on something really exciting. It's funny that we haven't really had any jewelry stores on our show, for almost 3 years. And then all of a sudden we had Rob Kaplan couple weeks ago for our Oris and museum piece
from Topper Jewelers.
From Topper.
Yep.
And now we have a guest from our local jewelry store in the city, the big city we call it, of our county, because we're out in the foothills. But we have a jewelry store down at the mall called DeVon's, and they have a really long history in the state and in the country.
Yeah, a lot of rural. They have 12 stores, I think, and most of them are kind of in rural areas.
But there's some little twists there of their stores and how they reach out across the United States. And his name is Randy Begotka. He's an assistant manager down there, and they are just authorized dealers of Rolex and some other brands. Can we say?
Well, let's let Randy tell, because he talks about that. And what I want to make sure you guys all understand: this is not paid advertisement. This is not. We're not sponsored by anyone that we have on this show. These guys are just friends. We've known Randy for many years now and bought several pieces from him. But we were going to have him, and Randy's the assistant manager. We're going to have Matt, who's the manager of the store, and their families up for a barbecue, and then COVID hit. But we do this because we like these people. We've established friendships and bonds, and when PG and I before the all the lockdowns, when we go to the mall, we'd go stop by, and if they weren't busy or Randy wasn't working with a customer, we'd hang out and chat about all kinds of stuff. So no paid advertisement. This is not. There's none of that going on here. We've mentioned that before, but I will just reinforce that point: is we do this because
it's our hobby.
We like these people, and we've been talking about doing this for a while. So this is good timing because they've got some really exciting announcements for next week. So.
Yes, and that's the key. Probably the key thing to kick off this episode is timing.
Yep. In
the industry and with the store.
Yep. So I think with that, we've probably told you guys enough. So let's go to the interview that we recorded with Randy earlier today. Here you go. All right. And here we are with our friend, Randy Begotka. Randy, welcome to the show, man. We've been talking about this for a long time.
Well, hello there.
How you doing?
I'm very, very excited to be here. I listen to you guys a lot, and I must say I'm excited. And I love listening to your show.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, you've known about our show for quite a while. I think we hadn't started it when we first met you, I don't think, or maybe we had just started it when we met you.
Was it 2017?
2017 or 2018? I don't know. Each year that passes, I forget 2 more years, so it's getting bad as I get older. So Randy, you are assistant manager at a jewelry store locally here in a town called Roseville by the name of DeVon's Jewelers. And we met you when we bought our first Rolex. Mm-hmm. And we've talked for a while about having you on the show, but this was the timing we're looking for because we've got something coming up that we're going to talk quite a bit about today. But what I want our listeners to know is that when we have people on the show, these are usually people that have become really good friends, which that's what we consider you. Same with Matt, the store manager out there, and
we really miss being able to just drop in the mall and catch up.
We used to, whenever we were down the mall, we would just come by and end up talking to you for an hour about, common interests like Disney or whatever it was.
Oh, I know. I miss those days, I tell you.
God, I think I've been in the store once since all this nonsense started, and it was still when you guys were closed. So it's like I had to be let into the mall and then let into the store. It was crazy. So it sounds like things are kind of getting back to normal, but
it feels normal. Other than, there's certain protocols we have to follow, how many people we can have at the store, et cetera, at a time. But for the most part, it doesn't feel too much different than it did, pre-COVID.
Good.
That's good. Well, and so one of the reasons we wanted to have you on the show is because we like to have people that we consider friends on the show. And something that we like about DeVon's is that it has tradition. It was a family-owned business. Now it's an employee-owned business. We're going to have you give a little bit of history there. But before we do that, we have a couple things to check off. So we wanted to do a quick wrist check. And then we'd like to have you tell our listeners a little bit about how you got into this business and how long you've been in it and your history with the store and all that good stuff. So being as you are the guest, I am going to throw it to you for your wrist check. What are you wearing today?
I am wearing a Rolex Submariner Date 116610.
Awesome.
I have had this a few years. It was actually given to me by the company for my 25th anniversary.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, I started in DeVon's almost to the day 28 years ago.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Yeah, not many people can say they've had a Rolex given to them. So that was definitely well earned for that time there. Well, I'm gonna quickly go next, and then I'm gonna throw it to PG. So I'm also wearing a Rolex. So you guys, our listeners, will start to realize there's a pattern going on here. I'm wearing our newest Rolex acquisition that I got from Randy and DeVon's, and that is our new Milgauss, which I think I've worn it on at least one other show. But this is one that PG and I have.
It's beautiful.
We wanted this this was one that we wanted to buy when we bought my blue dial, my 39 millimeter blue dial Oyster Perpetual. And I think you guys had one in the case.
Yes,
but it was more than we could spend at the time. And ever since then, we're like, man, I wish we had figured out how to do that. So we were super excited when this one became available and we were able to get it. I
love that dial.
It's so pretty.
Pretty color, yeah.
It is. And I mean, not just the dial, but the second, the lightning bolt second hand is really cool. But I really like all the polishing on it. That's it's very different from something like the Sub, which is, pretty much, except for the case size, I think pretty much all matte. This has got so much polishing on it, and it's absolutely gorgeous in the bright light.
And the case shape is unique because it's taller.
Yeah, it's thick,
a unique watch. It's the Rolex for watch nerds.
Exactly. It is.
That's how I've seen that statement before.
I think that's a good way to put it. But
really
we had to go for the blue dial. I mean, just to me, it's not this. The blue dial was not the original Milgauss. It's been out maybe 6 or 7 years, I guess, right? But it had to be the blue dial. So pretty. So that's what I am wearing. PG, what are you sporting today?
Number 3 watch of the day here with you guys. I'm also wearing a Rolex, and this is one that
clean sweep.
Yeah.
This is one that we got from Randy for my 50th birthday.
Oh, I love that piece. Yeah. Classic.
And today is actually my 52nd birthday.
Yep.
So I thought I would wear it for my birthday.
And what is it?
Watch. It's a Datejust.
Yes. Let's tell our listeners what
I'm so excited. It's the 31 millimeter two-tone Datejust with the silver dial and the stick indices. So it has tons and tons of lume. I can wear it, and I can wake up in the middle of the night and I can tell the time without my glasses, which is great. So, and it's on the Jubilee two-tone bracelet, with the hidden clasp.
Yeah.
It's, comfortable.
It is probably the most comfortable watch I have.
I mean,
top.
that watch has made me want to own a two-tone Datejust. I never used to be that interested in those watches, like the more dressy pieces, but it's so classic, and that Jubilee bracelet is just, it's like butter on your wrist. I mean, it's such a beautiful watch, and so now unfortunately that's made me put the Datejust on my list now, so just more
I'm
crazy.
shaking my head.
I know.
And rolling my eyes.
Rolling your eyes.
Don't feel bad. That's definitely one of the ones I really want to.
Oh, is
no
it?
Doubt about it. Oh yeah. I mean, everybody has their list, and I have a fairly large list, being around watches a lot.
Yeah.
But the Datejust 41 for me would be ideal.
It's such a beautiful piece, and I'm undecided on the 41 or the. Is it it drops down to 36 or I think it drops down to 36.
Yeah, vintage also 36. Right?
And I've seen them both, and I'm, that's a much smaller watch for my wrist size, but because of the style of the watch, I almost think I like the 36 more. I'd have to try them kind of both on, but
I can help you with that because I have a 36 millimeter vintage Pulsar homage.
That's right. I can test drive that one to see if I like the 36
We can put
size.
some links back in that, and
yeah, that's a great idea, actually. Yeah. All right.
So that's me.
All right.
And
so
then,
that's your wrist.
So Randy, can you tell us how DeVon's started, and give us a little bit of the early history and how it kind of progressed, and when you started with them,
and your history with the brand.
Because we've chatted about it before, but you tell a great story.
Well, it's a neat story. I mean, it was a family-owned business. It started out in 1929. Two brothers started the business, and it became DeVon's Merxmers. And when they retired, they basically gave the business to their children, and the children pretty much decided that they couldn't work together, so they split the company down the middle, and half of it became Merxmers Jewelers, and then the other half of it became DeVon's Jewelers, which is, the side I ultimately ended up on.
And what's funny is I remember as a kid when I lived on the peninsula hearing about Merxmer. That was a big name.
Yeah. Well, when I was I lived in New York before I moved here, and the city that I lived near actually had a Merxmer Jeweler, so I'd been introduced to it well before I got into jewelry.
Wow.
But yeah, in fact, I actually worked at the Merxmer side before I started with DeVon's, but they had a lot of financial problems, and that side of it ultimately was bought out by Fred Meyers, and then, it went out of business. But they had expanded, I think, to 80-something stores, where DeVon's has always remained a much more personal, smaller jewelry company. I think at the height we are up to 16 stores. I think currently we have 12 stores.
Okay. You'll laugh, but I've always, when PG and I are talking about you guys, I've always referred to you as the country jeweler, because I mean, aside from like Roseville and Sacramento, most of your locations are more out in like farming communities and stuff, right?
Yeah, agriculture, even Reno.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
It's
a smaller, very personal feeling. In 2011, because the longevity of the employee, I mean, with the 12 stores, the average length of employment is 18 years.
Wow.
Which is huge. And the guy that trained me was with the company 72 years.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool.
That's like the airlines. Like
I
came out of the airline industry, and I was there only 10 years, which was considered
and
very
you had like
junior.
guys that were there for like 40, 50 years.
Yeah, who were out of the military. Yeah.
Wow.
That's crazy. But, I fell in love with the company. I love the personal aspect to it. And it became an employee-owned company in 2011, which is great.
Oh, that's cool. So it's owned by all of the employees that work there, basically.
That's correct.
Well, and that feeling when you walk in the store, you're greeted with respect and kindness. You're not, we have so many stories about how we've been treated poorly when we go in to actually buy a watch or
jewelry or anything in other locations.
And depending on if we're dressed not quite the right way, where they just kind of look bored and we leave. Yeah. But we didn't, we've never felt like that with you guys. It was like instantly everyone is.
Well, you walk in and if they know you, I mean, you and Matt and the gals there that recognize us. I mean, everyone greets us, and it's like walking into your family living room and having your family greet you.
And while we're there, other customers are walking in, and you're doing that to them too. So that's, you guys have a loyal local group of locals.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, we started out in Sacramento.
Yeah.
Which is neat too. But that's what makes it. That's how I can do this for so long, is the fact that it's not, as much of a business. It's more of a family atmosphere.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. I mean, if our listeners are thinking, oh yeah, well, right, whatever, trust us. You go into to see the folks at DeVon's and any of their locations, and it's just such a friendly atmosphere. It's welcoming. It's just, you can tell that everyone that works there has a lot of pride in
well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, and you, Randy, the one thing that I think, aside from the fact that we found out you love Disneyland, your family loves Disneyland, and we do too. So we immediately connected on that level, and we'd like come into the store when we're shopping for something else, and we'd end up spending like 2 hours there in between you helping other customers. We'd be chatting Disneyland
and me showing you my
whatever.
charm bracelet.
Oh yeah.
And then your wife dropped in, and I was showing her my charm bracelet.
We absolutely love Disney. I'll tell you right now, we had planned a trip next year, and I have no idea if I'm going to be able to go or not.
Oh, I know.
I know. It's so frustrating. We had a trip planned, and that ended up not happening. And yeah, hopefully things will start to get back to normal, because we miss that kind of stuff.
Oh God, yeah, this is killing me. I'm having Disney attacks.
Total withdrawals, right?
Exactly.
In the corner shaking.
Yeah. You could always set up a virtual Disney vacation at home. We did that with a cruise. We did a cruise midsummer for our trip. Yep. So it's kind of trick your brain a little, but it was fun. It's not the same. I find myself
watching Disney movies. That's,
Yeah.
Well, so let's get to kind of the reason,
the nitty gritty,
the timing, and why we've had you on the show in this moment in time. You guys have something pretty exciting coming. We haven't talked yet too much. We obviously all have Rolexes on our wrist. I think most of our listeners know you guys are a Rolex authorized dealer, but there's something exciting coming up in the next few days. What's going on out there?
We're moving our location in the mall. We felt that we weren't in the best area for the mall. It didn't really represent our store well. So we're moving more to Luxury Court, and we're building a bigger store that will house a fantastic showroom, and we are getting another watch line, which is very exciting. We will start carrying Tudor watches for the first time in the company, and they're very, very hard and very selective to get a location.
Excellent. That is such a big deal, because there's up in this area. Yeah, there's up in this area. There's nowhere to buy Tudor, and that is a big. I mean, aside from the fact that a big chunk of the store is going to be focused strictly on Rolex, and it's going to be more of that feeling of walking into like a Rolex boutique type situation. But carrying Tudor, I think, the sister brand is a huge deal.
They really complement each other, I believe.
Oh, they do. Yeah.
We were looking for that one line that people kept asking for, and when I have people come into the store, they ask us, "Well, do you have this? Do you have this? Do you have this?" And it really felt that the biggest name that we kept getting was Tudor. So I'm thankful that they finally got into it. They only opened up, I think, 17 dealers in the last 2 years. So I mean, it's a very exclusive club.
Wow.
Yeah, I think the only one we've been into was in Vegas. That's the only time I've walked into a dealer and seen new Tudors. Yeah.
Yes. Over there that was actually in Watches of Switzerland.
Was it? Oh, it might have been.
I think it was in Watches of Switzerland. Yeah, when I went in to look at the 36, and he was bored with me.
That's right. He was very bored with you, and we walked out. That's right.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh man. It was very un-DeVon's experience. We'll just say that. Yeah.
Those silly salespeople.
Oh my gosh. Well, and that, that's funny, because it actually kind of leads me into the next thing I want to mention. Is that a lot of times you walk into these watch stores, and it's so abundantly clear that the people that are in there could care less about watches. They don't know anything about them. They look at you and immediately size you up based on what you look like, and you either get service or you don't. And it's not always a good experience. But one thing that I think one of the reasons that we got so attached to DeVon's and just coming in and hanging out with you guys when we were in the mall was because it was so clear how dedicated you guys are to the watch portion of your business, and you guys all are very, very knowledgeable. Some of you, like you and Matt, you're even collectors.
Mm-hmm.
You love to wear a watch, and you love the history of watches, and that was something that really came through. So what do you guys do when you have new folks that join the brand? I mean, I'm assuming you have a pretty rigorous training regimen in terms of making sure they are brought up to speed on just the basics around watches and how to talk about them and that kind of stuff. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, I think part of it stems from the fact that we're passionate about this. I mean, Matt and I specifically, and the other guys I work with are passionate about the products. So when we talk about them, we're talking about some of our favorite features and what really separates these watches from other brands. And I think that's basically where that all starts from.
And what kind of training do you put your new employees through when they come on board?
It's pretty extensive, to be fair. There's certain watch lines. I mean, they can't show or can't discuss. They have to basically bring in a senior watch salesperson before they can even talk about the watch. So
interesting.
It takes quite a while for a new person to be invited to show watches at the Rolex case or to show watches at the Tudor case. I think next week we're going to have some pretty extensive training on the Tudor brand, so that'll be interesting. I'll know more what I have to go through for that.
Oh, cool. All right. So speaking of next week, so we're recording and on Thursday, October 22nd. What is the timing looking like for the store opening? We all obviously know it's been in flux with, openings and closings and COVID shutdowns and reopen, all that stuff.
This darn COVID.
I know. It's just thrown such a wrench
so
in
inconvenient.
everything. It's very inconvenient.
It is. We were supposed to be open late this summer.
Yeah.
But supply has been, I think, the biggest issue.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a specific date yet because everything has kind of been pushed back a little bit, but it is looking very, very good that we will open sometime next week.
Sometime the week of the 26th. Okay. So and I'll just tell our listeners, follow. If you're not following us, shame on you. You should be following us on Instagram because we'll be keeping in touch with Randy and Matt, and so we'll be getting information from them and doing our best to make sure you guys all know, especially if you're fans of Rolex or Tudor and want to see some really cool watches. But also follow DeVon's account on Instagram, and I can link to that in the show notes. But that'll be the best way, right? We also
have a Facebook as well.
Okay, so we can link to that. So make sure you're following those for updates because, again, it has all been in flux, but we're within a few days, so we're getting close.
It's so hard to be at the oldest store and know that new store is like right there.
And so beautiful.
Without a front door, unfortunately, right now, right? It's like little details.
Well, it's secured, but there's still a lot of things that there's still a few things that have to be put together. I mean, I've been in there, I've taken a look, and it is absolutely beautiful. It's a very ambitious project that we took on, and it is not like any of the other DeVon's stores. It is completely unique.
Yeah, the pictures that you've been sending us, it's so exciting. And we're bummed because before this all. Because we had been talking about the new store months and months ago, and before COVID and all this nonsense. I mean, we had all these great plans. We were going to be broadcasting live from the store the day of the opening. I mean, it was maybe even a live YouTube, and it was going to be really exciting. And now unfortunately, PG and I won't even be able to be there for the opening. But I'm going to highly encourage anyone who's feels comfortable enough to be out. in public and in areas like malls and stuff, you got to go check it out. And it's really going to be exciting. I think
I'm super excited. It just feels like the old store is pushing back on us, because every time we turn around, something else is breaking. So it's time to move.
Yeah, it's starting to take it out on you. It's feeling a little unloved.
So now, are you going to be
Exactly.
on the first floor or the second floor?
We're on the first floor. We will be right next to Apple. And,
right there.
Perfect.
Right across from Tiffany.
Exactly.
Well, and
which
that's
is
the thing.
perfect.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's like my favorite section of the mall.
And it's one of the busiest, right? With those types
busy.
of stores there. I mean, you guys are going to get
Other
such
watch
great traffic.
stores and,
I
was really surprised because I always thought, well, it's a main entrance that we're near. We're right on a corner. But I've had so many clients lately tell me how they never come to that end of the mall.
Really?
They only spend time at the other end. So I think we're moving to the right area.
Yeah, I think so. Like if I go into the mall down by you guys, it's a lot less busy down there than if I come on the other side.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you said oh yeah, of course.
There's just a lot more traffic down there.
We park at the opposite side.
Yeah, so I think you guys are definitely moving to the right location, I think, for sure.
But the funny thing is, the location we're in always feels real loud and real busy. And when I go to the new location and I check it out, it feels like it's a little calmer. It's a little more relaxed.
Mm-hmm. The ceiling's lower where you're going to be going, I believe.
I don't
think
know.
The sound echoes a little bit in the other area.
Yeah. But it feels less chaotic. For sure.
Well, and the Disney store is down at you can hear the Disney store from the old location, I think.
Probably.
Lots of people, lots of young
close.
Kids and stuff.
Yeah.
I think just that the way the store is designed too, it's an inline store instead of a corner store. So it's more, more destination rather than people just kind of walking through.
Right. Yeah. Walking past the displays.
Yeah.
So what should our listener, if we have any folks up here in this area that want to come check out the store on opening day, whenever that ends up being, obviously there's still restrictions around, the mall and stores. How is that all going to work? You guys are going to, I assume, have restrictions on number of people that can come in, right?
Yes. Yeah. There's limitations as far as how many people could be in the store at one time, which of course there'll probably be a line forming, which we are seeing at some of the more popular stores. I mean, when you walk past Louis Vuitton, I mean, they have a line that goes halfway down the mall, it feels like.
Oh my gosh. Crazy.
But I don't anticipate that at our store. I think it'll be, just the basic restrictions that are put into place as far as how many people are in the store, the sanitizer, the masks, all that good stuff.
Right. So people don't have to call ahead or anything like that. They just show up and get in line if they have to, basically. Exactly.
And we are planning a show late November. It's a design show for diamonds specifically, like that type of show where we know we're going to have a lot of people coming to the store. We actually are setting up appointments, but for the rest of the time, it's basically just show up. We will get you in. We will answer all your questions. We will take care of you.
Cool. Okay.
Right, and that reminded me that your diamond business is also your big main focus.
That's what we started out as a diamond store exclusively, mostly. And engagement's always going to be, the big thing that pushes people to the store, because that's never going to go away. And that is the primary focus for our business. The watches are just a bonus, purely.
Yeah, and they're soon going to be an even bigger bonus with the new store.
Especially with that and adding Tudor.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yep, for sure.
I'm excited. I've tried on a few Tudor. I of course already have my favorites. I'm sure you guys have a few that you're watching as well.
Yep. All right, so you come clean. Which one is your favorite? Which one do you have your eye on?
I actually am torn between a few.
Okay.
So the GMT Black Bay.
Yep.
I've tried it on. It fits nicely on my wrist.
Okay.
I did try a Black Bay 58 as well, which I can't wait to see the blue. I haven't seen the blue in person yet.
Oh, okay. It's certainly
popular.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Blue. It's hard to go wrong with blue.
2020 is a big blue year for releases, so it
feels that way. Yeah.
Yep. And blue is, Well, PG's always joking with me that if it's blue, I'll buy it just because I'm a guy, right? And for some reason, guys like blue, and I guess that's
in
true.
The Y chromosome.
Something attracts us to those blue dials. I guess I don't know what it is.
Well, I find myself wearing my Submariner, the most because it is a sentimental watch. But I really would like to have something blue in my repertoire as well.
You have to have at least one blue dial. You got to have a blue dial,
and especially that new one. It has a nice shade of blue with it's a little lighter, so it would be really nice with a pair of jeans or with like a really nice dress shirt. You could really do it anyway.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to own multiple. I'm absolutely positive of that. So.
Well, that's one brand we don't have in our collection yet. So
I almost did the 36 millimeter. When I was looking at that and the Explorer,
what did I get you instead?
You got me the Vintage Explorer in 36 millimeters.
Yep, that was when we were in Vegas. Yeah,
well, I think the fun part for me is just before we open, I'll be able to try all of those watches on because how often you have
jealous?
Yeah. How often you have a full inventory of brand new watches that you can play with because it invariably seems that you don't have all the watches you want to have whenever you need them.
Well, and that leads me to a question that is a very popular and frustrating question that plagues a lot of people now who are collecting watches is we used to be able to go in and, the days of, I want to buy my wife a watch for our anniversary. They're kind of over right now.
If you want to buy a Rolex.
If you want to buy a Rolex. And
sure.
So people are frustrated, why can't I go in? Why do I have to be on a list? And frankly, the demand is so high. It has increased. So it's an issue of supply and demand. But as an AD, what are your thoughts on that? And what do you deal with on a day-to-day basis when you get a phone call, someone asking for something that, normally would be there, but isn't, or, how does that all work with the AD?
I mean, it is It is an interesting situation. I mean, I never thought I would see the day where the demand has become this incredible, and that is the basis of why it feels like there's a shortage. There really isn't. They're giving us more watches than I have ever had before. The problem is that we can't keep the watches on hand, and it doesn't matter which watch it is. Even some of the ones you would think that would be on hand at any given time. I mean, those are selling in days. I mean, every watch that I have in my case is probably less than 30 days old.
Wow.
Where, some of the all gold ones used to sit for a while.
Even the two-tone would sit.
Those you could usually, I mean, when the first time we ever walked in your store several years ago, the case was full. I mean, it was.
Oh yeah, there was a Yachtmaster.
There was a sub or two. I think there was
Purple Oyster Perpetuals.
There was definitely a Milgauss. We've talked about that. Yeah, I mean, it was a great selection, and we do talk about this a lot. And people get so frustrated, and speaking to you and other folks that know about the brand, it's the reality is that the demand has just skyrocketed, and as frustrating as it gets for people, Rolex is not stupid. They are an incredibly intelligent brand. They're very intelligent in terms of managing their inventory. It's why they're as successful as they are and as profitable as they are. They really have just done a phenomenal job at building a brand and driving this crazy, insane desire to own one of their watches. So it's just the world we live in. I mean,
I think they'll catch up because there's precedent set now with a new group of people coming of age, especially in Silicon Valley. And we're a 2-hour drive from the South Bay or San Francisco, but there's a lot of high tech out here. So there's so many more people that want these watches that I personally feel eventually Rolex will start catching up and they will start, trying to make more to meet that demand because it's not going to go away.
They are making more than they ever have. Like I said, I am receiving many more watches than we previously received. If I look at how many watches I receive now compared to what I received back in 2015, I mean it's a night and day story. It's just like I said, the amount of people that want this particular product has just gone through the roof. That being said, I want everybody to walk into the store and get the watch they want. That is my personal feeling, and that's the feeling that we all have. We will get everybody the watch they want. It just is going to take time. Yep. It's not an immediate gratification like it used to be. Yeah. And that's that's the reality of where we're at. Will our watch presence be bigger in the future? Absolutely. That's the goal. That's why we built this new stores, is we want to improve our relationship with the brands that we carry, and we really want to expand and try to get everybody the watch they want.
That brings me to an interesting trivia question I have. This is a little off topic, but what is the most? Is it
about Mickey Mouse?
No, Donald Duck. No, it's which watch do you get the most calls for out of all of your Rolex collections? Like, what is the most popular watch that someone calls to get?
It is the one thing that's unique, I think, about Rolex in general is the fact that people love a lot of different styles across the board. And I've never seen that with any product where there's this huge following for like a Datejust, or this huge following for a Rolex GMT. Primarily, we do get a lot of the professional series calls right now. And with the release of the Submariner, that is kind of like the big thing. Although I was really surprised at how many requests that we're getting for the Oyster Perpetual across the board.
Oh no!
Then all the new colors. I mean, it's for people that know the history of Rolex, right? They'll probably remember those original
Frank Stella
designed watches, or the colors that were in the gold cases and gold bracelets and stuff. But for those, I think, when the Rolex first announced those, I wasn't 100% sure what to think, but I could see that I think it's going to bring in a lot of new people to the brand, right? Because it's out of step for Rolex, right? To release watches in these bright, very vivid and vibrant colors.
But not when they did the Frank Stellas back in the day. So the funny thing is since those are a retro color, the youngest people who are buying the Oyster Perpetuals, they don't even know who Frank Stella is.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, the colors are just vibrant and they are just exciting. And it's neat. I mean, I have to say, I've seen a few of them and they are absolutely cool.
And even with a 41, how does it look on a 41? I mean, that's a big dial.
It's a lot of color.
That's a lot. That's a lot of color. How does it look in person?
Oh, it fits perfect on my wrist, I'll tell you.
Really?
I am sure it does.
Oh yeah.
Now,
I had a guy in the other day who was wearing the coral red, and I mean, you could see it from across the store. I mean, you knew exactly what he was wearing, the second he walked in.
Wow.
So they stand out. There's no doubt about it. It's a neat departure, because generally Rolex has been very conservative. This is something that is really exciting. I think people are responding incredibly well to.
Well, it makes me smile when I see those bright colors.
Yeah,
they're cheerful.
Oh, definitely,
they're cheerful. Yeah. And the way that coral red makes that steel bezel, it changes the color of it almost.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool. It's going to be a lot of fun seeing all the colors. I haven't seen everything yet, but the ones I have seen they are definitely standouts.
Well, we're definitely looking forward to eventually being able to see some of those in the metal. The one I'm really looking forward to seeing and feeling is the new sub, because the changes that they've made, as small as the changes are, it seems like they've radically divided thought, right? I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, they've gone big.
Broken the internet.
Why did they do it? It's broken the internet. But then other people are like, no, it's just a small change. It's going to be perfect. That's the one I really want to see, because I can't the changes are so subtle. I don't feel like I can make a judgment on it by looking at pictures.
I've worn both. Mine is the 116610. But it doesn't feel dramatically different. And remember, the case is only 0.5 millimeter bigger, because the actual Submariner that I'm wearing is a 40.83 millimeter watch.
Yep.
So it's 0.5 millimeter bigger, which isn't that much different. it does feel different to me, and I think it's better balanced.
Interesting.
The one that I'm wearing, does feel a little top heavy.
Mm-hmm.
This one, the bracelet's a little bit wider, and the lugs really fit better with the bracelet. I mean, it just feels. It doesn't feel as heavy, honestly. It actually feels lighter to me, which I know it's a heavier watch.
Yeah.
And it's the weirdest thing. It's just the way that they built it is just so streamlined and so perfect.
Yeah. And, I did a video a couple years ago on our YouTube channel talking about watch sizes. And I think a lot of people, me included, I'm guilty of it as well. When I first read about a watch is I go immediately to the diameter and I make a judgment call on whether that watch is going to work for me or not, when in actual fact there's so many other factors, whether it's the width of the bracelet or the way the lugs taper, how long the lugs are, the thickness of the case, the thickness of the bezel in relation to the dial size, right? There's so many factors.
It's design. It's overall design.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest, talk about breaking the internet, I think it created, I guess, a lot of controversy when they went to what people refer to as the maxi dial, but also the maxi lugs, where the lugs got much thicker, which is the watch that you have, my Submariner, my 6-digit, right? Same thing without the date. But that was such a big deal, and I think it upset a lot of people, more traditionalists, and that's the one thing they've done is they've narrowed those lugs down again. So
just like my old bluesy Submariner.
Yeah,
that fit me fantastic.
It was perfect, and I think that's one thing that brands like Rolex. I mean, Rolex isn't the only one, but brands like Rolex, they don't just look at something and go, okay, let's upsize the case. We won't mess with anything else. They look at the whole design. There's a lot of thought and study that goes into that, and maybe they've bumped the case size a little bit, but it's all. I think it's one thing leads to another, right? They probably had a lot of, I'm guessing they had a lot of discussions around, okay, we got to bring the lugs back down. That was obviously the thing that people disliked the most about the 6-digit. We got to bring the lugs back down. But that probably led to some of these other design decisions, right? With the bracelet and the diameter of the case.
Well, and a larger dial overall it's a dive watch. We want a visible, you need to be able to see it.
That's the other thing I noticed too, is the dial, the writing on it is much easier to read. It's brighter. The bezel, everything is much more visible than previous.
Wow, I can't wait to see this thing. I'm really looking forward to it.
It's like comparing. So I have the last Tritium Dial Explorer. What year was that?
Oh yeah,
91 or 92, I think.
Yeah, so that's a 36. Cool. They call that a 36 millimeter, and then I have my 34 millimeter Oyster Perpetual, and when I look at them side by side, the 34 millimeter looks overall like a bigger watch.
It does.
Isn't that interesting?
It really is.
I actually love the old 40 millimeter Rolex Explorer 2s. I think that was one of the neatest designs.
Yeah. Well, Randy,
we have a story about that too.
Well, and Randy, I mean, we were going months ago. We were like, because everyone's speculating about what's coming out, and you guys don't really know until the last minute either.
No. Yeah.
And that was, that was something that I was really hoping for, was going back to a little bit smaller case on the Explorer, because once they went to 42 with kind of the maxi, it just wasn't working on PG's wrist.
Yeah.
And we do like to share as many watches as we can. So I'm still holding out hope in the next year or two. Maybe we'll see a slight downsize back to that 40 millimeter case or whatever they can do to make it a little bit easier for smaller wristed folks to wear. Because I agree, the 5-digit Explorer, I mean, both PG and I absolutely love that one.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's a neat watch.
Yep.
And every year we go through this. I mean, what's next on the agenda?
We do.
It's a pastime,
and there's so many blogs and individuals out there. They'll
everyone speculates.
They Photoshop up what they think is going to be the next, the announcements for the year, and it's kind of fun. I mean, I think it is really interesting to see what people think is coming.
Well,
and
with us, with me having, I'm a woman with a small wrist, and Ranch Racer's a pretty big, tall, lanky guy with a larger wrist, so we can really have great debates about, who can wear this, what, which one of us, thinks about it.
I gravitate towards a little bit bigger watch, and I always thought I had a small wrist, but then I started we actually were playing recently and measuring our wrists as customers came in, and I found out mine's a little bit bigger than I thought. So I tend to like that 40-41 range.
I think that's anywhere from like 39 to 41, getting close to 42 is a great size for, I think, a lot of different size wrists. It depends on the style of watch, right? If it's a sports watch, I think it works on a lot of different wrists. If it's more of a dressy watch, it can be harder for someone with a smaller wrist to pull off like a 41 or something like that. But
I don't know how guys wear these 44, 46 millimeters. I mean, I have a 44 millimeter Luminox actually, and it feels like it's actually digging into the side of my wrist. Because the way the lugs come over,
hangs over the top.
Yeah.
A lot of the women have their watch like that. Yeah.
Well, that was the thing. I mean, when we got kind of really back into collecting on a serious business, I don't know, 5-6 years ago or whatever it was, we went and bought each other some Bulivas for Christmas. And I got the big Bulova Precisionist, and it's
Two-tone.
Like a 45 or 40. I mean,
it's huge.
But when I bought it, it was like, yeah, this is normal. This is a big manly watch.
And there were bigger watches in other brands.
I put it on, and I feel like I'm lifting weights.
That's it. Exactly. I don't know
you
how
should
people
see that
wear
on me.
Watch.
We actually shared a photo on Instagram probably 3 years ago of me wearing the Precisionist, and you're wearing my tiny. It's like a 19 millimeter little oval Bulova that you gave me when we were newlyweds 20 years ago.
That's a funny photo.
Oh, that's so funny.
So it's that's something I can't wear. I just cannot.
It's a gigantic watch.
But I do have another bigger watch, the Seiko Orange Monster.
We have
for
one.
some reason, that one seems. I think that's a 43 or 44 millimeter case, isn't it?
We just talked about it on our last podcast.
Is yours the Gen 1, the first generation?
Yeah.
Same as ours.
I want to say it's a 42, but it's got that almost like that protective outer sleeve on it
like
that really bulks it up a lot. But
it's that one I don't feel uncomfortable wearing, which is weird.
And that's funny because I wear it too. I have it for you. Yeah. That one's kind of mine. I have it on a shark. I have it on a shark mesh
Oh, that would
bracelet
be nice,
with no end lug there.
Yep.
And then I have it on one of those Erica's Originals. What does she call them? I'm having chemo brain.
I don't. It's like a paracord or whatever.
It's like elastic with the clip that comes around, so it keeps the watch a little closer to your
wrist.
Your arm. Yeah. So with the right outfit, jeans, sporty, it works on a smaller wrist.
Yep.
That's my Disney watch.
Ah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because I can see it in the dark rides. I can.
I
don't feel bad if I bang it up.
Yep. Yep. Yeah,
I have a Donald Duck limited edition bluesy homage Invicta that I get tons of compliments on because you never find the duck on anything.
Oh no, absolutely not. That's really cool.
The duck is really.
That's one of my other big
not
watches.
Respected.
Is my Invicta Disney with Mickey on the dial, and it's like a 45 or something. It's a huge watch. Yeah,
that's a monster.
It's a big one, but that's what we could find at the time. We wanted watches with Disney characters for our last trip that we did.
They're cute though, so. And then like Randy said, you're not going to worry about if you bump it. And
exactly.
No, exactly. It has all those little Disney love scratches where
Yeah, and you can't beat a Seiko movement. I mean, come on.
I know.
They're accurate.
Had that. I think I've had that like 15 years, and it's still runs.
Have you ever serviced it?
No.
Yeah.
No. They I don't wear it that often that much anymore.
Yeah.
So
they'll run like tops. They really will. So
that's crazy.
One thing I wanted to ask you about, mainly because when I was in there one time, you showed me something, but you get customers bringing in all kinds of different watches, whether they're bringing them in to ask you about it, just what is this watch, or what's the value, or I need to get it serviced. And I remember being in there one time, and you showed me a red dial sub that a gentleman had brought in, or his kids had brought in for him.
And for our listeners, why is that unique? Because we have some new.
They didn't. Well, I don't know a whole ton
so.
about the history, but it was red text as opposed to white text on the dial, and they didn't make a lot of them, and it's a very sought after piece, and that was the first time I'd ever had the opportunity to actually see one in the metal. But talk about some of the cool watches you've seen, and maybe what is the coolest watch that you've ever seen come through the store in whatever fashion it might be.
Well, it's interesting, those red letter Submariners. I mean, there's actually different versions of them, and some are even, ridiculously sought after. And we've seen some really neat ones that were in pristine condition. The one that I saw somewhat recently is a 1-year release, and it was a version of the Daytona. It was a smaller version, so normally they're like a 40 millimeter. I think this one is a 37 millimeter, and it was only released for 1 year. So the story says the guy's mother had won it in a race, and he, she didn't really
like a car race.
Like she raced a car, and oh my gosh,
because they were gifted to the winners of the races.
Yeah.
And he, as a kid, he wore it and just, beat the heck out of it.
Oh my gosh.
So, he wanted it's a sentimental piece. He sent it off to Rolex and for service. And I mean, it was pretty well loved over that time.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the significance of the watch itself, Rolex decided that it needed to go to Geneva for service. Mm-hmm. And it went to a special department, and they only work on a few watches a year. So this one, to service, as you can imagine, basically it's like restoring a car.
Oh yeah.
And it's one of the, they might do, 5, maybe 10 pieces in a year. I mean, we're talking, a very, very selective watch. So that's kind of a neat one. It's going to run him almost the price of a inexpensive car to get it fixed. But
oh my god.
Oh dear. Now I've heard I've gotten advice from some experts that say if you send a Rolex back to them and it has a tritium dial, they'll remove it and replace it because of the radioactive material. So is there something that they might have done to that watch that, or is that department, they would absolutely keep it intact as it was built? I mean, are there rules like that for certain historical pieces?
I'm not 100%. I know they're going to try to keep it as original as possible. Yes. But obviously some of the parts are going to have to be replaced.
Yeah. Well, and especially for a piece like that. I mean,
I know.
Talk about
that's like
rarity.
A museum piece.
What was his reaction when he found out what it was worth, or did he already know?
He knew. Yeah. Okay. I mean, these guys that come in, they know more about the watches a lot of times than even we do in some cases.
Wow. I'm going through my mind trying to think of the women that have raced at Daytona to see if I can figure out who that is, because there's not many.
He probably can't say.
I don't know specifically what, race or the history of it. But it is neat. It was, I remember when I looked at it, I'm like, God, I've never seen one this size. It's just such a unique feel to the watch.
Did you take pictures?
No, I did not. Oh, actually,
you're probably not allowed to.
Maybe.
Okay. You need to go back and look, Randy.
Only if it's okay.
I got to see those pictures.
Only if it's okay. Because he could have some non-disclosure agreements.
I can't even imagine getting something like that when you're a kid.
Especially that size.
Oh my gosh. Amazing.
It's just, it's a cool thing. Yeah. But I mean, when you're passionate about this, when you see even, an older 36 millimeter Datejust that comes in and it's a family heirloom. I mean, how cool is that, really?
Yep. That really is. And that's one thing that both PG and I are kind of bummed about is neither of our, I mean, my dad had watches, but he wasn't into watches, right? And it was just a tool for him. And so he never got into that kind of stuff. But, some of the stories I've heard about watches that folks inherit from their parents or grandparents even, right? And that's, I think Rolex is one of those brands that I was in a store yesterday, a local store here, looking for a birthday present for PG, and I overheard a guy talking about, I've got that old, I've got that old watch. It's what's that one brand? What's that he has cowboy hat on and stuff. What is that? Rolex, yeah, I got that thing. I never wear it, and if you don't wear it, it doesn't work. And I mean, I literally almost went over to him and said, "I'll buy your watch. What is the watch? I don't care what it is."
Oh,
right?
That's funny.
I mean,
my gosh.
When you hear those kinds of things, especially about when it comes to the history of the brand, you just get really excited. So I thought that was kind of funny.
Well, we do have that old Gerard Perregaux that your mom got when your dad was in the service.
Yeah.
In overseas.
Yep. Yeah. So we have some little pieces.
Yeah.
But
my dad just completely just does not get it at all. I mean, whenever I tell him stories about, he's like, why? Really? And, the one thing that I presented him to, I said, well, how many items do you have currently in your possession that are worth more than when you bought it and are going to last 2 lifetimes?
Yep. Yeah.
He went, no, point well taken.
2 or more.
Yeah. No, it's 100. That is so spot on. I mean, there's just not many. There's not many things that these days that you would consider an heirloom, but that's, a vintage Rolex absolutely fits into that category. And any Rolex that you're buying today is going to be in that category in 20, 30, 40 years, right? I mean, it just,
exactly.
It's one of those enduring things.
That's why I kind of, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Part of the reason that I chose the Rolex Submariner as, my 25th anniversary watch is I went to my son and I said, what's the most attractive watch in this line to you? And he said that one, hands down. So I got that with the thought that, not only will I enjoy it, but he's going to remember that I worked 25 years of my life to obtain that particular item.
Yep. He will always remember that. Always.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, speaking of your kids, are either of them into watches?
Now, this is really sad. My son loves the idea of a watch, and he does have a Bulova that we bought him for a graduation gift when he got from high school. And it looks actually very similar to the Submariner that I wear. But my daughter, she wears her Apple Watch, and I say, well, why don't I bought my wife a few nice watches over the years. I said, and my wife doesn't ever seem to wear them. She's not into watches at all. And I said, well, why don't you wear, your mom's watches? And she admitted that it's difficult for her to tell analog time.
I know. Isn't that interesting? I'm not going to tell a story again. I think I told it on the last podcast, but we do have a story about that. How I showed my watch to like a 20-something, and she had no idea what time it was.
Yeah. And she says, well, I can kind of guesstimate, but it'd be more of a fashion thing than an actual tool. So. Yep.
No, I guess I kind of get it. I mean, I wasn't taught to read a sextant when I was in school, right? I mean, we had compasses and modern stuff. So I guess I get it. It's just for us, for those of us that love watches, it's a little bit disappointing to see that is being lost on some of the younger generations.
Yeah, it was a weird thing.
But then on the other hand, for me, I like to wear a watch because then I am not constantly looking at my phone. I have to put my phone away or leave it somewhere, and I have the watch so I know what time it is, and it keeps me in the now and focusing on living my life instead of just have my face on my phone all the time, which is how a lot of young people are. So it's just how it is.
Yeah.
I like having that date window so I can actually, because I do every day have to use, a date function.
Yep.
And I don't use my phone for that. I always look at my wrist. It's just so much more convenient.
Especially with going through, it's like Groundhog Day. That's I tell Ranch Racer, pandemic is Groundhog Day, and we forget what the actual day is.
Yep.
Yeah. Time displacement is real.
Well, I mean, I guess that means we're going to have to buy a day date, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Definitely someday. It's going to have to be on the list. Well, and nothing drives me crazy more than when I look down at my watch and I'm not wearing a watch with a date.
Yeah.
So then I have to pick up my phone if I don't know what the date is. So
it's funny too because I'm basing some of my future purchases on is there a date window or not? And there's a couple watches that I absolutely love that don't have a date. I'm going, well, can I pull it off?
Yeah. Yep.
You got to admit, there's such beautiful symmetry and design balance without a date.
Yeah.
But I'm an art student.
This is Ford versus Chevy right here. I mean, you have the date camp and you have the no date camp, I think. And I'm in the date camp. I think both camps,
I think they can come together really in a small part. Like when you take two rings and you put them together.
Maybe.
There's a center.
There might be some common ground, but I don't know. I mean, I look down at my sub and I'm like, ugh. Man, I wish I'd gotten the date.
But then you look at it and say, this dial is perfect.
It is beautiful, right? Because you don't have the Cyclops
absolutely.
on it. There's nothing to interfere with the symmetry of the dial. So I do understand that as well. I mean, I love the look of it, but I don't like not having the functionality, I guess.
Well, and you just summed up watch collecting, because that's why we have so many, because we do appreciate them.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in love with the Tudor Black Bay 58, but there's no date window.
Yeah. Yep.
Same with the one that I was looking at, the 36.
And that's how you end up with a collection of 150 watches, right, PG?
Yeah, no.
Well, I don't think I'm at your passion level yet.
Oh, God.
Well, most of ours are vintage, and we have a lot of quartz pieces.
You have a lot of vintage and inexpensive quartz pieces. But
I'm over 150 now.
Yeah, just for your collection. It's crazy.
I just found a picture. My best friend from high school sent me a photo of me when I think I was about 21, and I had a Casio digital.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
So I had my Snoopy mechanical from when I was 6. What was your first? What was your first watch, Randy?
Oh my goodness! I think when I was like a teenager, I had like an old Armatron.
Oh, Armatron!
Mm-hmm.
I totally forgot about that brand.
Yeah, and it was it was bright gold, and it stood out. You could see it a mile away.
Is that the brand of my ring watch that I got?
I think it is. Yeah, I think it is.
I think I was in high school.
That was a huge
Mervyn's
brand back then. Yeah, you could get them in all like the department stores and like Walgreens and Long's Drugs and all those places, right? Yep. Along with Casio and everything.
And of course, it was yellow gold, right, Randy?
Yeah, it was yellow gold color, but
full on
OG.
And back then, I didn't realize it was battery operated. So when it stopped working, I think I just threw it away.
Oh.
Whereas these days, someone buys a mechanical watch not knowing it's mechanical, and it stops working, and they get all angry. It's like, why is my watch not working?
The battery died.
Yeah, the battery died, right?
That's hysterical. I love telling. Yeah, I do come across that occasionally.
I think you mentioned at some point a few years ago, you'd had a customer that came in that was upset that their watch wasn't working anymore. And you're like, actually, if you just move it around and wind it a little bit, here you go, right?
Yep.
They didn't even know.
There's still people that come in occasionally that want us to set them when, the month changes, and they just never mastered that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, guys, I can't believe it. I thought this would be a bit of a shorter podcast, but we're already coming up on an hour. We've covered a lot of stuff. What I'd like our listeners to know, Randy, is how can they find you guys? So you have a website. It's DEVONS.com, right? Or is it DeVonsJewelers.com?
It's DeVonsJewelers.com, yeah.
Okay, so DeVonsJewelers.com.
And we'll put that in our show notes.
What about on social media?
I believe it's DeVon's Jewelers on both Instagram and Facebook.
Okay, all right. So you do have a Facebook site as well.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so again, the best way to be up to date and know exactly when the new location is going to open, which is looking like it's going to be sometime next week, is to follow DeVon's on their various social media channels. Follow us because we'll be keeping in touch with the guys as well.
And follow me too, because I'm spending a lot of time on. I've had a lot of recent growth on my account during the pandemic, so I'm getting a lot more new collectors and a lot of locals. So we'll post it everywhere.
And this show is for our, for our locals, right? I mean, this is about anyone who's a fan of these brands and wants to see some cool watches and just meet some really, really cool people.
And, the focus of our store too, is to get these watches into local hands more so than all of the Bay Area people that are calling or the LA area guys that are calling. I mean, that doesn't mean as much to us as somebody local. That's our focus.
That's awesome, because and we're a little bit even further out. We're up in the foothills. We want to have a chance, just like everybody else, to buy a watch and find what we like locally instead of having to drive, fly to Vegas to get it.
And it's something that we didn't really dive into, but something we really appreciate about you guys is that you do your best to service your local clientele. There is an area of Rolex collecting that frustrates a lot of us, and that's the people that will just try to buy as many as they can and flip them and make quick profit. And it can be frustrating for those people that are just passionate about watches. And you guys really embody that in terms of an AD that really cares about your customers, and we all appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. We really try. I mean, it's important to me to make sure that, the watch is going to be worn and loved.
Right.
I don't want to see, a watch that I sell on the internet 10 minutes later. That doesn't mean anything.
Yep.
Something that could be a gift for a huge milestone, or
exactly.
silver, a big wedding anniversary or a promotion, and So is there,
those things mean something to us? That really does, and that's things that we really try to focus on. If we know that it is a big deal, we want to make sure that person is able to fill that big deal. So
yep,
it's wonderful.
Sure. Well,
is there anything else that you want to share with our watch fam who are listening? Anything else that we might have missed that you wanted to talk about?
I mean, I know sometimes it's frustrating when it is hard to get, exactly the watch that you want. But I mean, we will try. We definitely, it means a lot to us to get these watches to those people, and, make sure that you do come in and give us a personal experience. That way, we know what you want, and we can try to, get you that particular piece or that item, and get to know us. I mean, obviously, if your name is front and center on our minds when something comes in, I mean, that's the person that we're going to really try to make sure that they get exactly what they want.
No, that's
excellent.
Great. Yeah. In other words, don't just call in and say, "Do you have this watch?" Go in and meet the DeVon's family. Check out the store. They've got other great stuff too. I mean, I've gone in there to talk to you and Matt and just hang out, and ended up walking out with a piece of jewelry for PG.
My key necklace. Yeah. I love that.
I mean, it's a neat store. It's a great environment, and definitely it's been so fun for us to get to know you guys over the years. And we up until COVID, we were talking about having you and Matt and the families up for a barbecue, and we are still going to do that as soon as things.
I know I'm looking forward to it. The place looks absolutely beautiful from what I've seen, and I can't wait to experience it. And hanging out with you guys is always the best. I mean, you guys are just wonderful.
Thank you. Well, I haven't had a chance to really talk to your wife except that one time, and I really like her. Yeah, she's very, very sweet. So it'll be
She is my better half. There's no doubt about that.
They all are, Randy. They're all our better halves.
She's a neat person. I got really lucky. So
awesome. Well, we are going to make that happen. We are definitely going to make it happen. So, all right.
I can't wait.
Well, again, Randy, thank you so much. This has been a blast.
This has been
really enjoyed having you on the show.
Really fun and cheerful. It's with everybody being really down with this COVID thing for all these various reasons, it's been fun to talk about, good stories, interesting pieces that came through, and
it's fun to have the bright spots.
I'm smiling.
This is a bright spot for all of us, especially for watch collectors up here in the Sacramento area, especially those who like the Rolex and Tudor brands. This is really exciting. It's a bright spot in what otherwise has been a tough time. So we are looking forward to it. We're looking forward to seeing the store, and we're looking forward to seeing you guys again.
I am too. I tell you, being on the show too was meaningful. I really enjoyed it, and I really appreciate the fact that you guys did this. So thank
you.
Absolutely. All right. Well, guys, we hope you enjoyed the show, and we're looking forward to seeing you on the next one. And there you have it. That was so fun. Randy is, literally, we'll go in there and we'll just hang out, and look at stuff for an hour and hang out for an hour and chat with Randy between customers. I mean, he's such a good guy, and we buy watches and jewelry from Randy and from DeVon's, but he's just the kind of guy that we would just be friends with.
Well, and the staff in the store, they're all like that. It's small town feel. There's no intimidation, and you're treated with respect. So whether you're just browsing or, looking to buy something, you're going to be treated like a neighbor. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a very much like Randy said, and like we mentioned as well, it's a very family oriented atmosphere. And I'm still so bummed that we're not going to be there for the opening, but we do need to figure out how we can get over and see the new store shortly after they open.
After
maybe
all
first
the
thing in
hubbub.
the morning or something. Yeah. Because
the mall's open, but it's there are guidelines in place, like he said. So
and we have to be really careful for you. So
because I'm entering another
round next month,
fun. So we'll just have to time it right.
But so anyway, we hope you guys enjoyed that as much as we enjoyed recording it. We went a full over an hour with Randy, and I wasn't sure we were going to go that long, but I should have known better because we could just chat with him forever. So I think with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this week's show. As always, please give us a follow over on Instagram at Love and Watches. You can also follow Perpetual Girl at Perpetual Girl. You can follow me as well. I don't really spend any time there, so probably not worth your effort, but definitely follow the show and PG. I'm going to put links to all the things we talked about today in the show notes. Go and follow DeVon's Jewelers so you know about exactly what day they're opening, and
we'll put links to all that. And give us a review. We get a lot of reviews, and I have a funny story. It was kind of funny because I was talking in a previous podcast about how I was so honored and humbled that we had a 5.0 review, and literally within 24 hours after that, or 48 hours, all of a sudden it went down to 4.5.
Yeah, kind of interesting, huh? And no more written reviews. Just someone went in.
Someone went in and gave us the one star.
But oh well,
we got a bunch of 1 stars.
No, I think we got like 2 of them. But whatever.
I thought it was
whatever.
Yeah, all 3 years we had 5.0, so we'll go with that.
Yeah, and awesome. We appreciate all the written reviews. They're all very, very kind,
very generous,
and people seem to like the show. But as always, we want to hear from those that maybe don't like the show or would like to see other things on the show. We've always said we're not one of this kind of standard podcasts or blogs that just regurgitates a lot of the same news over and over and over again. We don't like to be that kind of show. We like to try to make it personal and talk about things like what we talked about today, which is very pertinent to those of you up here in the Sacramento area, in Northern California. But I think let us know.
Even if you're not in this area, I think hearing what Randy says about the policies in their particular store I think it makes me feel a little bit better about all the hate that's going on with Rolex. So I imagine it might not be the same everywhere, but it sounded pretty legit, as far as here locally, I have no issues.
Yep. No, it's just the world that we live in and the popularity of the brand. One other quick thing, guys, if you like Oris, we've talked a lot about Oris lately. We've had them on the show, and they've had a lot of interesting releases and that kind of thing. So if you are into their pieces, or even if you're not, go and check out our YouTube channel. I just put up a review of their, oh boy, let me see if I can get this right. The 57th Reno Air Races limited edition. So they started sponsoring the Reno Air Races a couple years ago, and this is their third special edition Big Crown Pro Pilot.
GMT.
Yeah, it's the GMT. And so that one came out, I think, last month. So I did a review of that on YouTube. So go over and find if you just go to our website, loveandwatches.com, all the links to our various channels are on the right-hand column, but you can also just go search Love and Watches on YouTube and find us there. So
that's actually currently in the link in our bio. Is that
on
Instagram? YouTube video? Yes.
Okay, so if you just go find us on Instagram and go to our bio and click on the link, it'll take you to the video. And then we've got some more exciting videos coming soon. So planning to start doing more on the YouTube channel. We're not going to be our goal is not to, get to the quick 1,000 users and start making money on advertising and stuff. I don't think I will ever monetize the YouTube channel, which means we'll never be very big. But it's one thing I hate with a passion is going on YouTube and getting bombarded by ads. And we've always told you guys, you will not get that here. So we might be a little tougher to find since we don't get into all that monetization stuff. But
if you check it out. Love and Watches all in one word with no apostrophe, it'll pop right up.
Yeah, you'll find us. It's easy enough to find us. You gotta work a little bit. You gotta work a little bit.
Well, it's a really neat segment. You may have started it right at the beginning when we started the podcast.
I started it pretty early. I was doing reviews of older pieces and stuff, and
you did our vintage Seiko Bellmatic, which we've talked
about, and then an older one, a transistorized watch that I inherited from my father, and that's
all about Ranch Racer. This is we can all nerd out and sit at the workbench.
Yep.
with you and talk about the watch.
Exactly. So go check it out. It's got a fun and very surprise ending to it. So I won't tell you what it is. You're going to have to go and watch the video. So go check that out there. And other than that, as always, thank you so much for listening. We appreciate it. We wouldn't be doing it if you guys were not interested in hearing what we have to say. So thank you very much for being part of the Love and Watches family. And we look forward to getting more of you guys on the show. So
we do. I have a list.
Yep. And the list is growing. If you would like to be part of our Love and our Listener Spotlight and be on the show and talk about your own collecting and your love of watches, then let us know and we'll get you on the list. So that's it. Let's wrap it for this week. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, everyone. This is Perpetual Girl.
And this is Ranch Racer. And we will see you for the next one. Bye-bye.